How dare David Cameron describe anyone in the anti-war movement as a terrorist sympathiser? Now, I object to this on every conceivable level, but at the most personal level, I condemn this because I have a memory of recent events in the Middle East. When the Arab people were fighting for freedom and democracy in 2011, I was in Tahrir Square in Cairo for 9 out of the 18 days that brought down the Mubarak dictatorship. And I remember what David Cameron was doing when we were fighting for freedom. He was backing up the Mubarak dictatorship while we were looking down the barrels of the tanks that were trying to crush the Arab Spring. So don't lecture me about democracy and terrorism in the Middle East. And after I had been in Cairo, I was asked by some friends to go to Tunisia, where the revolution was overthrowing the dictator Ben Ali. And I remember what David Cameron was doing when we were at the centre of those events. And I have to tell you, the person that was by the side of me in Tunis was Jeremy Corbyn. I remember what David Cameron was doing. He was backing up the dictatorship of Ben Ali when we were fighting it in the streets. So don't lecture us about who stands for democracy and who stands for terrorism in the Middle East. But to be fair, when the Foreign Office eventually caught up with events, when they eventually understood that they couldn't save the dictatorship in Cairo, David Cameron did go. He did go to Tahrir Square. He stood in Tahrir Square. And who was stood with him? Who was on the delegation with him? BAE Systems and the arms selling corporations who were trying to do deals with the new Egyptian government to rearm them for the bullets they'd spent shooting at the protesters. This government are corporate puppets. This government is a PR government for arms dealers. This government can't remember what happened in the last war because it's too busy looking for the next war. That's the truth. Now, I have as much reason to oppose the reactionary, counter-revolutionary Islamic State as anyone here, because it was the tool of Saudi Arabia and it helped to crush the Arab Spring. But I'll tell you this, if that horrific regime ever stabilised itself in the Middle East, if it ever became a proper state, if it ever made it possible for the Islamic State to build a stable oil industry and to sell it, if it became that kind of state, I'll tell you what would happen with David Cameron and his friends. They'd sell it guns and they'd buy its oil and they'd treat it just like they treat any other state. And I tell you why we know that. Because if the Islamic State built a stable state, it would look just like Saudi Arabia. So do not dare to talk to us about democracy and freedom in the Middle East, because we know more about it than you will learn in a lifetime. Now, I have a word for those Labour MPs that are going to support the corporatists, the arms dealers, the warmongers. First of all, a word about lobbying and a word about petitioning. Now, we have fought in generations, from the levellers to the chartists to the suffragettes, to be able to lobby and petition our MPs. Yes. Our forebears died in this square, demanding and defending that right. And if you think for one moment we are going to give it up or stop doing it, think again. It's not going to happen. If you wanted a quiet life, you should have become a monk or a nun. You shouldn't have gone into politics, because it is the people's right to lobby and demand action from their elected representatives. We are not here for your convenience. We are not here to turn up once every 5 years so that you can sit on your fat asses in the benches in Parliament, being paid more than twice the average wage of people who live in this city. We are not here to pay you to have a life that we could never have. You are there to do what we tell you and what we demand of you. And we will be saying from the Stop the War Coalition to all our allies in the trade union movement, when we see the list, the traitors list tonight, not one single penny of union members' money should go to one single Labour MP who votes for war tonight. You people who are a shameful disgrace to the Labour movement, you should never be allowed to use the word Labour on a single leaflet that you issue. And if you're so keen on a free vote, I suggest that you go to your local Labour Party, these MPs, go to your local Labour Party at the next election and say, look, it's up to you guys. If you want to come out and work for me, it's up to you. But if you want to exercise your conscience, don't bother putting the leaflets through the doors, don't pound the streets, don't elect the traitors back there at the next election. Because this farce has got to stop. We began a revolution in this country in the summer, where 250,000 people demonstrated against austerity, when 100,000 people marched in favour of refugees. When Jeremy Corbyn was elected, we were telling the political establishment, we're not going to have it anymore. Let's make sure. Yes! Let's make sure that tonight we redouble our efforts and we consign to the dustbin of history every single one of the traitors that votes for the Tories.